to learn. You absolutely learned. And that this day was rewarding for you. And I'm getting ready to turn this cam on so that I may be seen. You guys have to excuse this light. I'm gonna let some people start coming in here, but yeah, this light, I'm trying to get it together. I think by Friday I'll have it all together. But it's me. We're going to sip and answer a few questions. Those pressing life questions. Oh my goodness. So I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of time. You know that we have 30 minutes. This is 30 minutes of us having a nice discussion about some of the questions that you have a desire to ask, right? Hey sis, how you doing? So this is it. You can, let me do the break first. Let me go to a commercial break. Greetings, good to see you. Follow me on, wait a minute. Look, y'all, I'm stumped. No, honestly though, go to www.askdryaya.com. Also, you can go to Facebook, Ask Dr. YaYa, and you can also follow me on Twitter at Dr. YaYa, or it is YaYa. How you doing, sugar? How you doing? So I get a lot of interesting questions. I've gotten a lot of interesting questions in my 25 years of counseling and giving therapy. I'm retired now, which is good for me. I've gotten a lot of questions. And so some of these questions I'm going to answer. I want you to ask questions so we can just be able to have the life that we desire, the one that we desire to create. So the question that was posed to me, much respect to the chat. I see you guys. I love you guys. Thank you for your support. I always get asked the question, well, you know, Dr. YaYa, how do I remain positive and how do I stay positive when things are just not going well, right? You know, you get this thing where, you know, you just don't feel it, you know, and people are saying, you know, be positive. You hear that all the time. Be positive, think positive. So I get this question a lot. And it's an interesting question in the fact that I think we go about it in the wrong way. And I'm going to explain that to you shortly. We go about it in the wrong way, and I'm going to tell you why. Trying to always remain positive, right, from the perspective that people give to you will cause you to feel more frustrated and depressed than the actual situation. And the reason why is because you are using positivity as a feeling. Positivity is not a feeling. Being positive is not a feeling. Let me give you the definition of positive. It means constructive, optimistic, and just maybe confident in something, right? So positivity is not a feeling, it is an outlook. And many times people tell you to be positive and think positive, and you have to do, it's not a feeling. And so what you're doing, and the reason why it's not working, is because you are trying to hold on to a feeling, right? You're trying to hold on to a feeling of positivity, and that's not what that is. That's not how you do that. Okay? Let me tell you what feelings are. Feelings are happy, sad, stressed, angry, anxious, silly, scared, frustrated, anxious. But when you ask someone how they're feeling, they never say, you know what, I'm positive. Because it's not a feeling. So when you try to remain positive all the time in the state that people try to put you in, you're denying your feelings. Your feelings have to be validated. Let me give you an example. If you are on the road and you're driving and you get into a car accident, okay, You have to validate how you feel in that moment. You may be angry, you may be sad, certainly quite upset. That's the feeling that you own, and you're supposed to own feelings. And don't get me wrong, I understand that putting words to feelings can be hard. It can be a struggle, but you have to own it. You have to validate how you feel. Now that's different from your outlook, because in this car accident, you can say, I am really angry. I'm upset that this person hit my car. But your outlook can be, well, I'm glad I'm not dead, right? I'm glad nobody got hurt. That's the outlook. So positivity is an outlook. It's your point of view. It's your attitude toward life. So it's possible to remain positive all the time if and only if you validate your feelings. You cannot remain positive if you don't acknowledge that you're feeling anxious, if you don't acknowledge that you're hurting, if you don't acknowledge that you're frustrated. So you just don't get up and say, okay, oh yeah, I'm just going to be positive, because it's going to be worse for you. You'll find yourself being depressed, right? Because you're not acknowledging how you really feel. And a lot of people have come to me and say, you know what? I'm trying to remain positive, but I just can't do it. And the issue is you're not acknowledging how you really feel, right? So in times past, you ask people, how are you doing? And they say, fine. And for me, I used to say, yeah, I know you're fine. Frustrated, insecure, neurotic, right? And excitable. So yeah, you're fine. But you yourself, you have to acknowledge, I'm feeling like this. This is how I feel. And you're not going to stop me from feeling like this. So when people say that to you, when people say, be positive, say, yes, I can have a positive outlook, but I'm not going to deny the fact that I'm really upset about this situation. The situation could have been worse, but I'm not going to deny how I feel about it in the moment. And I think a lot of people think that being positive means you have to deny how you really feel, like you have to push it back. But let me tell you something. If you push something to the back burner, it's coming to the forefront. It's going to happen. So when you acknowledge your feelings in that moment, there's not a problem with the outlook, because then you can put it in proper perspective. But as long as you deny how you really feel with a certain situation, you will never remain positive, and it'll be far worse for you, and you'll feel like a failure, right? You'll feel like, wow, everybody is so happy on Facebook and I'm over here being pitiful. Everybody is so happy, if you have Instagram and you see these wonderful pictures of people. And then you'll start to feel as though, man, there's something wrong with me. Why can't I be happy? But that has absolutely nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with acknowledging and validating the feelings that you have. It doesn't mean pushing those feelings away. It doesn't mean to ignore those feelings. And that's what a lot of people do. So is it possible to remain positive? Yes, absolutely. Is it possible to deny your feelings and still be true to who you are and where you desire to go? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're going to have to own your feelings. And I think in this current society, we feel like everything is so microwavable for us that we want things to be so easy. We don't want to have to go through anything. We don't want to have to acknowledge that this is how we're really feeling. And that's not so. You're going to have to acknowledge that. And we're trying to figure out why anxiety is up in people by 13%. It was like that before we were hit with what's going on now. People were always so anxious because they were trying hard not to be anxious, right? How you doing, Sue Bone? It's good to see you. And you're absolutely right. I'm going to look at some comments. I'm going to read some comments. Well, Dr. YaYa, life drags people down as well when they don't have what they need. And you're right. You're absolutely right. It absolutely does. It absolutely can do that. But then you have, again, it goes back to how are you feeling in that moment? How are you feeling in that moment? How do you decide? What is your attitude toward that? There must be an attitude. How you doing, Subone? There must be an attitude when you don't get what you think you should get, whether it be the help that you think you should get, the encouragement that you think you should get, the inspiration that you think you should get. Remember, this is all about your perception of what you've received or what you haven't received. You know, so you say you feel bad, but if you were, again, earlier I stated that I know it's difficult to kind of put words to a feeling, and sometimes we struggle. When you feel bad, what do you mean? Because when you give the vague, I feel bad, then I have to know, when you say bad, does that mean sad? Does it mean frustrated? Does it mean confused? You know, what is bad exactly when you say what is bad? So you have to connect a feeling to that. You have to connect it. You have to put a word to that and say, I feel like I feel powerless. I feel loveless. I feel helpless. So you have to put an emotion to that, right? So when you say bad, I need you to connect that with an emotion. I need you to connect that bad. What is bad? It's bad, sad. It's bad, anxious. It's bad, frustrated. And so when we begin to do that, you know, we can start to kind of dissect where we are. We can kind of figure out where we are, because there's nothing more frustrating than trying to express yourself without an accurate feeling. You know what I mean? Have you ever gone through something and say, am I mad or am I disappointed? You know, you ever get to that place? You ever have those moments where you say, I'm trying to figure out how I'm really feeling. I don't know whether to be more mad at this situation or to be more disappointed in this situation. So you have to pinpoint those type of feelings. You have to say, what in the hell? Because I'm feeling some type of way. You know, you ever encounter some people where you just like, I don't know whether to slap you or cut your throat. I really don't. I don't even know how to deal with you right now because of how I'm feeling. So I understand that struggle to get those words to that feeling. You know, some people get so enraged that they black out. They just like, they don't know what's going on, right? Because it's just a struggle to try to get to that place and say, I need to know how I'm really feeling. This is what I need to know. But outlook is everything. Outlook is positive or negative. Feelings, that's not a feeling. Like when you ask someone, well, how you feel today? They usually say, well, I'm feeling pretty good, or this is how, you know, but you don't ever say, I'm positive. How you doing? Oh, I'm positive. Oh, I'm negative. No, that's not what we do, because that's an outlook. That's not exactly where your feelings are. And so we have to be mindful and to make sure that we are absolutely validating our own feelings. And let me tell you something, you don't validate your feelings for other people. That's for you. You validate your feelings for you. And so many times we want to change our feelings for other people, and that's not healthy. You don't want to do that. And we see, and our children do it sometimes. When your children see you sad, they kind of want to change how they're feeling because, you know, to make you feel better. You know, sometimes people do it with their spouses. They want to change how they feel in order, you know, but that's not healthy. That's not healthy. And so we have to begin to validate where we are and really accept the fact that this is what it is. How many times have you decided that you don't want to accept that you feel like this? A lot of people do that. A lot of people say, I've encountered people who have been in counseling having marital struggles, and the wife will say, I'm just going to ignore it because I don't want to feel like this. Well, you ignoring it doesn't stop the action from happening. You have to validate your feelings. If Johnny is cheating on you, you have to say, this is how I feel. This is what's going on with me. And so, if you begin to push your feelings to the back burner, it's not healthy. It's not healthy at all. You can't you can't believe that ignoring your feelings or pushing your feelings aside is going to make everything all right. That's not how life works. That's not how any of this works. You have to sit down and say, okay, yep, he's a butthole. He's an ass. I cannot stand this person, and I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I'm confused. I'm sad. But you have to own it. Positivity is not saying don't own how you really feel. It's saying, okay, you own how you feel. Now, what's your outlook? What's your outlook looking like now? Now that you own it, what's the outlook? How can you look at this thing and say, okay, I know he cheated. I know I lost money. I know I lost my job. I know that. So we have the situation, right? We have the situation. So how am I feeling about the situation? I'm hurt. I'm angry. I'm confused. I'm helpless. I feel powerless. Okay. Now that I own it, what's my outlook? How am I looking at it now? Well, I lost my job, but I always did want to start my own business. You have to start to put things into proper perspective, because like I stated in the first episode, life happens to us all. Life is not going to stop happening because you're in a corner in a fetal position sucking your thumb. That's not how that works. So you got to figure out these feelings so you can have a proper outlook that allows you to move forward. And a lot of times we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that because we don't want to deal with feelings, because that'll take us to a deeper place of feelings. And I'm going to talk about that later on. That'll take you to a deeper place, because now you can say, I'm angry, but then you're trying to figure out, okay, so why are you angry? Well, I'm angry because I'm disappointed. Well, why are you disappointed? Well, I'm disappointed because, you see what I'm saying? So you can't even get to the first stage of validating your feelings, because some people throw up their hands and say, oh, I just don't want to deal with it. Again, not how life works. And then you try to figure out, well, how come these people are doing so much better than I am? Why does it seem as though they have this thing all together? When actually that may not even be the case. It could be just that they went through some steps to say, this is how I feel and this is what's going on. How you doing, Anime? Thank you for joining us. So this is something now that you have to consider. So now, since we know what positivity is, and since we know how that relates to our feelings, and that being positive is not a feeling, now we have to say, okay, where am I? Am I validating my feelings, or am I just pushing them off to the side? So that was a very good question. I thought the question was very good, in the fact that you can certainly remain positive all the time, because positive is an outlook. You can certainly have a positive outlook all the time. And it works as well for the negative. Most people have a negative outlook all of the time, right? You can give someone something, you give them a cat. They like cats, and you surprise them with the cat, and they'll say, oh, thank you, I like the cat, but I wanted a white one. What? So they dealt with their feelings, right? They dealt with the fact that they said they like the cat, they're happy with the cat, but their outlook is that it could have been better. So that works both ways. You can remain positive or you can remain negative. That is a choice. That's what life gives you. Life is full of choices. That's what life is a series of choices. And so when you figure that out, when you get that, it's up to you individually to say, this is what I'm going to decide. This is what my outlook is going to be. This is it. In another episode, I'm going to talk about the benefit of having a positive outlook and the dangers of always having a negative outlook. At some point, there should be some balance in your life when you think about situations and circumstances and those things happening for you. When you don't have balance, you have a tendency. Wow, I don't know if y'all, I don't know if I should say this, but we're just having a talk. You know, I'm your big sister. We chatting, we sipping a little tea. Woo, I'm your favorite good Judy. When you don't have balance as far as outlook in your life, you have a tendency to belittle yourself and berate who you are. Do I need to say that again? Did you hear what I said? You know, you have a tendency to belittle who you are and berate. That, I mean, when you don't have a balanced outlook in life, that's a problem. Because then you begin to say things to yourself like this: I'm not good enough. Then you begin to compare yourself to other people in your family. You know, how come I couldn't be like my cousin? Man, how did she get everything? She was such a loser. She didn't go as far as I did. You know what I'm saying? You start to do that when you don't have a balanced outlook in your life. You start to belittle yourself and berate your situation, and then you become bitter. I know it's not anybody in here because, you know, you can't be better and bitter at the same time. But that's what begins to happen when you don't have a balanced outlook. Everything is belittling. Nothing is good with you or for you. You used to be excited about going shopping for yourself and say, oh, you know, I love to go shopping for myself. I look good in this. But you don't do that anymore. Now, every time you go shopping, this is too frumpy. It doesn't look good on me. Red never looks good. You know, I gained 10 pounds. And, you know, when you don't have a balanced outlook, nothing is ever good with you or for you. And it's not healthy. And then you try to think and figure out, how did you get into this situation? How did I get here? I can't believe this. But that's what's happening, essentially. So okay, let's see. I grew up with family working and not really taking care of me. Grandma took care of me. Okay. So when you say that, you know, no one was really taking care of you and your grandmother was taking care of you, do you mean that you were raised by your grandmother, or she just stepped in periodically and did some things for you? Because there's a very big difference in that. You know, there's a very big difference in that. If you live with your grandmother, oh, you mainly had to take care of yourself. Okay. So what question, if you had a pressing question to ask right now, what would that question be? What would you like to ask? You guys, if you go to www.askdryaya.com, you can purchase this limited edition mug. Beautiful mug. I like it. Okay. So this, I think this type of situation, when we have things that press us and make us have to face our feelings, it's not by accident. Like I said, life is happening to us all. It's not by accident. And I think when you're in a situation, you should always be mindful of where your feelings are. And of course, that's going to take a little bit of being self-aware, because we're so used to just, doing everything and not really paying attention. But I think at some point, we really have to begin to pay attention to our feelings in every situation, so that we're mindful of how our outlook is, and that allow us to move forward. I would like to ask how I figured out my life and did what I can. I don't understand. What do you mean by that? Are you saying you'd like to ask how to figure out your life? Because I'm not sure what you're asking. Well, when you get it together, I'll see if I can answer the question effectively for you, because right now I'm not sure I understand what the question is. Does anyone else have a question? Oh, you mean you helped yourself without anyone helping you? That is good. That is good. A lot of people will say that they've come out of some things and struggled through some things and helped themselves through some things. And that's an absolutely awesome thing, to be able to do that. Does it come with cost emotionally and mentally? I'm sure it does. Absolutely. It absolutely does come with cost. It absolutely does. Oh, okay. Someone had a question. Oh, wow. It says, Dr. YaYa. Oh, let me enlarge that. Dr. YaYa, my husband of 7 years had an extramarital affair with my sister. That was 3 years ago. I stayed with him, but find it hard to trust him. Okay. So your husband of 7 years had an extramarital affair with your sister. You decided to stay with him, but you find it difficult to trust him. What should you do? Well, I thank you for the question. It's a very interesting question. I am looking forward to answering this question, but guess what? I am out of time. So I'm going to answer this question on our next episode. I want to thank you all for joining me. I want you to remember you are loved, you are valued, and you are appreciated.